Well, good morning, everyone. You've had a lot of great presenters this morning. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself and how I became a banker and uh, the twists and turns in my career and my life. So my first goal was to be a math teacher. I went away to a four-year university, coming from a small northern Michigan town. That was a little too big for me. So I came back home, did a year or so of community college, and then decided, well, maybe school wasn't for me. So I went from being a waitress at a golf course, making 265 an hour plus some great tips, 50, $60 a night, to being a banker at $2.75 an hour. So I date myself with that. But banking, I've never looked back. So I started out in an accounting area, a backroom area. I've been a teller. I've been a banking center manager. 2 years ago, I got the opportunity to turn my passion, which is volunteering and a lot of our nonprofit organizations, into my career. So, as a community development manager, my goal is to reach out to a lot of our nonprofit organizations, see how the bank can help them and their clients with educational needs, budgeting, credit, all of those things. So we're going to kind of share one of those little modules with you today just to give you some ideas. It pairs nicely with what Tim said about setting a goal, kind of like the little goal and the big goal, writing down what those goals are when it comes to your money and how you spend it. So that's what we're going to do today. I've got about 15 minutes with you. One of the things, if you can share with Susan in the chat, would be how do you spend your money? And we'll kind of go through some of those at the end. So be thinking about that. Susan, I'm ready to turn it over here. So let's just kind of talk about that. How do you spend your money? Some of you are still in high school. Some of you may have part-time jobs. Some of you may have full-time jobs and finishing school. I see some chats coming up, like on my truck. I saw somebody celebrating earlier that they got the parts to repair their car. Someone has a horse and is saving for college. And here's somebody saying food and lots of unnecessary items. So as we go through this, one of the things I want you to think about what you're spending on your money on, kind of in what Tim said about goals. Is it a short-term goal or quick satisfaction, have some fun today, have a great taste, food taste today, or is it going towards that long-term goal? Is it a need? It's going to help me out today, make me feel good right now, or is it a want that I just want this today, or is it a need, something that you really need to plan for and spend in the future? So, in terms of budgeting, your income is the amount that you earn from wages and other sources. Your budget is how do you take that income and make sure that it covers all the expenses that you have. You don't want to be spending more than you have. So how do you prepare a budget for yourself? For income. I know your parents have probably said to you at many different times, save a little bit, start that nest egg savings. A lot of times parents will say, save 10% or give 10% to charity, 40% for spending, and 50% for savings. So all different ways that you can do that. But so you've got your income and you've got your budget. Now let's go see how we use it. Again, cost of, opportunities, ways to spend it are have a party, go shopping. And I'm a big shopper. So that's really one that I do probably too much. So study and work, you're all looking to do some form of higher education, whether it be a trade school, college, any of those. So, you're going to need some expenses for that. If you're working and you've got a part-time job, you need transportation. So you've got expenses there. You may have other bills and expenses. Your cell phone. Do you buy video games? Do you buy apps for your phone? Some of those different things. So this one is probably a little unrealistic for those of you in high school, but it just gives you an idea. So if you have a annual gross income in the mid 30s, you're going to have taxes that you're going to pay taxes on that income of about $5,400. At some point, you're going to have some kind of health care cost. Right now, you're probably on a parent plan or something of that nature. At some point, healthcare cost is going to come into your future budgeting. So you have an annual income net, what you have for take home, about $2,900, $29,000. So that gives you about $2,400 a month. So that seems like a lot right now. But let's see how that can really dwindle quickly. Here's a budgeting worksheet. This is kind of fun, and Susan has several that she's going to send out to you. Maybe not one that's not as in depth as this, one that'll give you some basic needs that you can go through. But it's a great way to see how you're spending money. One thing is, how do you pay for things? Do you carry cash? Do you I doubt that many of you are writing checks, but that is one way to pay for things. Or are you using a debit card? If you're using a debit card, are you writing it down, or are you kind of doing the calculation in your head? Because sometimes that debit card can get away from you, and then you've spent more than you thought you did. Statistics show that if you went shopping and you were using your debit card or a credit card, you might spend more than if you had to pay in cash. So housing options, as you look at moving out, I saw somebody said on an earlier chat that they were getting ready to move out. So living at home, if you have some expenses, is probably cheaper for you. Even if you're paying part of, rent, or you're paying part of the utilities or some of the food, it's still a cheaper option. A 2-bedroom apartment with a roommate at $650 a month. And if that's total rent, that's probably a little low. But that's still going to cost you an extra $100 to $200 a month yourself. And then if you live alone, you've got to calculate that you're going to be spending probably $1,000 a month between your rent, any utilities, if you need either cable for TV or intranet, so that you can get onto your phone, onto your tablet, any of that, or additional data on your phone. So you got to think about all of those things as you look at your housing choices. Housing expenses, at home, you're probably not paying the light bill. You're probably not paying the heat bill. If you have a roommate, could cost you about $75 a month. If you're on your own, 100 or more. Again, we talked about Wi-Fi and internet. At home, you may not be paying for that. Maybe if you've got the premium channels and you're paying for part of those premium channel packages because you want something special. If you've got a roommate, you're looking at your portion being $20, $30. If you're on your own, probably over 40. Same thing with the TV. And that phone can be a expensive item. I know it's your lifeline, but it can be an expensive item. So, And especially if you're going to use your data plan on your phone as your internet for home, then it really adds up your costs. So public transportation can be a good thing. Some of our rural areas don't have the availability of it, but it can help you out until you can get a car, or if your car needs repairs and you're saving to get those repairs, it might be an option for you. A used car is probably the way to go right now to keep your monthly payment low. Usually used cars have less in car insurance, might have a little more in gas depending on its fuel efficiency, and it could have some maintenance on it. So you've got to plan for that maintenance. A new car is going to give you a higher car payment. Your insurance could vary. Gas, again, depends on, did you go from a Honda Civic or something small to a SUV or a truck? Your gas could go up. And your maintenance, hopefully you wouldn't have as much maintenance on it, but with more electronics on the vehicle, when those go, they can be quite costly. So groceries, if you're living on your own and you're doing groceries, you're packing your lunch, all of those things, you can probably get away $200-300 a month. If you're doing groceries and eating out, your expenses go up, and then you might be wasting some of the groceries that you spent. Eating out is your most expensive option. One of the things I compare, my husband and I like salmon, and we can buy a slab of salmon at Meijer for about $15-16 that can feed 2 to 3, maybe even 4 of us for a dinner. And if we were to go out to a restaurant and get that, usually a salmon meal is somewhere between $17 to $22 for just one of us. So, eating out is more expensive, and usually that means you're not eating as healthy as you could because there are a lot of additives and things like that. So, just your choice, how you spend your money, but just things to look at. Entertainment. This one can really get away from you. So you go to a sporting game, maybe go if you're going to go to a football game, or I would say this is probably professional or semi-professional. If you're going to go to a concert, not a lot of those right now, but it could be an expense, and you've probably all bought concert tickets and been to one in the past. If you can go into a movie theater, it's not a inexpensive thing anymore. Your ticket might even be $15, $10 to $15, plus popcorn, plus candy, plus a drink. So download a movie, that's another option, a little cheaper option, but still has an expense to it. Date night, that can be expensive, but worth it, depending on your significant other. If you're going to travel, even a downstate trip with gas can be $100. That doesn't include any overnight lodging, eating, any of those things. Hobbies. What are your hobbies? What do you like to do? What are the expenses that go with that? You need to factor these into your budget so that you're trying to stay on track if you can. Um, 5% of your income, and this is bad for me because I spend way more than 5% on some of this stuff. So clothing, average cost of shirts and pants, depending on where you're going, doesn't include designer things. Shoes, $50. That's probably, if you're getting a Nike or even a Adidas brand tennis shoe, you're probably spending more than that on a pair of tennis shoes. Toiletries, makeup, body washes, all that stuff, probably $20 a month is what you're spending on that. So, that can add up quickly. And if you do more of that, it can add up. A haircut, just a haircut, no highlights, no color, anything like that. $30 for a haircut is the average now. So that's a lot. And most of us need a haircut every 4 to 8 weeks. So, and then other things, anything else that you go out and buy, you need to put into that category. Goal would be to pay yourself first. So if you were on that $35,000 a month or annual income and you have $2,400 to spend monthly, you should put 10% of that into savings and leave it there, not put it in and take it back out. So your goal is to do something that would allow you to put that away and out of sight, out of mind, forget it. And let that nest egg grow. Some of that can be accomplished once you have a job that has a 401k plan. You can put a little bit away in that. And it's surprising, a lot of companies match part of your plan. So it can help you start that savings path. So this is just a recommended budget based on if you were in a full-time job. About 30% of what your budget is got to go to your housing. So, and, when you're thinking about moving out, and you're thinking, well, I can share a house with a couple of friends. Well, what happens if one of those friends moves out and you still have this payment? You've got to be prepared to pick up the slack. So when you're looking at a budget and saying, yeah, I can move out, even with the other bills I have, I can move out, we can make it. Think about those worst case scenarios and make sure that you're budgeting accordingly. As you start down the path of getting applications for student loans, once you get student loan applications and you're approved, you're going to get a lot of credit card offers. Be very careful with those, because those credit cards and the credit history you're establishing go with you through the rest of your life. And if you get those credit cards and you misuse them, then you could have some negative credit information on your credit history, which then can lead you to have not get offered a job. A lot of your employers need that to know that you're paying your payments on time and everything to hire you. It can raise your car insurance rates. It could get you not to be approved for a rental unit if your landlord decides to do a credit check before he offers you the property. So think about that. Credit cards should be used very sparingly. They can be a good thing to establish credit, but they need to be used and paid back. Think about if you have $1,000 limit on a credit card, you should never carry more than 30% or $300 on that at any time for optimum credit reporting. So this just kind of gives you an idea of some different things and how you should spend your money. They're just food for thought. We want you to be able to be ready to go out into the world and get your job, move out of your family's home. We want you to be successful. So these are just some different ideas for you. Again, like Tim said, sit down, write those goals. What do I want to do? What do I need to do to get there? And then start working towards it.